certain state pensioners face payments being capped at £9,634. Imagine working your entire life, paying into the system, only to find that when you finally retire, the government tells you that's enough. For thousands of state pensioners, that's exactly what's happening. Their payments are being capped at just £9,634. And the worst part? Most of them don't even know it yet. Welcome to UK Pension Update, your trusted source for the latest news, changes, and expert insights on pensions, benefits, and retirement in the UK. If you're retired or planning for it, we've got you covered. Let's dive into today's important update. Imagine you have planned your retirement around the expectation of a state pension that pays what you were promised, a pension that keeps up with the cost of living. Now imagine a ceiling is imposed. No matter how much need, no matter the inflation, your pension might be held back. That's the situation now surfacing for a subset of pensioners. The cap of £9,634 represents a point beyond which payments cannot go, regardless of entitlement under certain rules. This cap, many analysts are warning, will hit people who are receiving what's known as the basic state pension, or people who qualify under legacy schemes, older pensioners whose contributions or national insurance record entitle them to certain rates. The full new state pension, which applies to later retirees, will be higher, but for those on older or different entitlement schemes, this cap acts like a hidden ceiling. No matter what the calculations say, their payments won't exceed this threshold. Some will see increases frozen, or very modest, while others may see real income decline in what feels like stealth cuts. Why £9,634? Because of a combination of policy choices, fiscal constraints, and the way pension uprating works. The triple lock is supposed to help. Every year, pensions increase by whichever is highest of inflation, average earnings, or 2.5%. But many pensioners on older schemes get only inflation-linked increases, or sometimes even less favorable terms. Meanwhile, tax thresholds, the amount you can earn before paying income tax, remain frozen. That means two things. First, the real value of pensions under inflation, especially food, energy, housing, can erode fast. Second, pensioners who do see uplift may find themselves paying tax on what they receive, reducing the effective cash available to live on. Worse, many of those affected are people who thought they'd escaped these constraints. They may be individuals on fixed incomes, with few savings, perhaps with chronic health costs, maybe with dependents or caring responsibilities. The cap of £9,634 is not just a number, it means less flexibility, more hardship, maybe choosing between heating or food, medications, or socializing. Many of those people have lower pension entitlement because they had fewer qualifying years of national insurance, or its equivalent, or because their pension was never upped as much as later schemes. Also, certain old pension schemes and additional pension entitlements may not benefit from future uprating at the same rate, so over time these gaps widen. Also, pensioners who are abroad in countries that do not uprate, that is, where pensions are frozen, may find their payments shrink in purchasing power even if the nominal value remains the same. A lot of the confusion comes from how the government describes full new state pension vs basic state pension vs additional state pension vs protected payments. If you are on the new state pension, your entitlement tends to be higher and subject to the triple lock, meaning bigger increases. If you're on the old system, your entitlement may be lower and less protected against erosion. Many don't realize until later that their pension will not automatically rise with wages or inflation in the same way that others will. Let's talk numbers. Suppose someone under the older scheme is getting near the cap of £9,634. If inflation is 4%, then a rising cost of living means their real value of pension falls by that percentage unless they have extra sources of income or savings. If electricity, food, rent, council tax all rise, that squeeze is real. Meanwhile, someone under the new scheme might receive a pension of over £11,500 or higher, and if the triple lock pushes that upward, they may cross tax thresholds and lose some in tax, but at least their base is higher. The cap means that no matter how much extra someone in the older scheme might be owed under some contributions, they don't get beyond this limit. There's also an issue of what the government's budget allows and how public finances are managed. State pension spending is already high, especially with increasing life expectancy, more pensioners, rising costs in social care, health, and inflation. The pressure to control costs is real. But critics argue that letting some pensioners fall behind or freeze those at lower levels while giving higher entitlement to newer pensioners creates inequalities. People who worked just as long, paid national insurance, paid into the system, but are getting less safeguard. That feels unfair, especially when many of the folks facing the cap are older, often vulnerable, with less ability to claw back money or work extra. There's a political dimension. The cap is not widely publicized. Many affected might only discover it when their increases are very small, or when year after year their spending power decreases. Pensioner advocacy groups are vocal. Some demand that pension uprating must be uniform, that older pensioners must be brought up to modern pension standards without this kind of ceiling. Others suggest that if caps persist, there should be compensations or targeted support such as energy subsidies, tax reliefs, or other welfare measures to ease the burden. Now, is there any possible relief? In some cases, yes. A few proposals include raising or at least defrosting the personal tax allowance. If pensioners aren't taxed because the threshold is raised, some of the negative effect of rising pensions being taxed away would be mitigated. Also, some suggest expanding the triple lock to cover all pensioners, not just those on the new pension. But that's expensive. Another possibility is providing additional targeted benefits for low-income pensioners or those whose pensions are frozen or whose payments are capped to make up the difference. Also, inflation-linked supplements or occasional grants during periods of high inflation might help. There are counter-arguments. The government often points out that universal increases cost money, and that increasing entitlement for all pensioners to match higher tiers could be unsustainable. There's also the argument that some people already receive extra income, private pensions, savings, and so may see less need for state payments to keep rising. But this argument is less convincing when it comes to those who depend almost entirely on state pension income, especially when costs of essentials are rising. Public reaction is likely to grow. We already see complaints, concern, news stories from pensioners who discover that despite decades of work and paying into the system, their pension today doesn't feel enough. Some may be forced to seek additional help, benefit advice, debt advice, food banks. Advocacy charities are already speaking out, saying the cap amounts to a de facto poverty line for those on capped pensions. An important point, this is not about lazy assumptions or scaremongering. The numbers are verifiable. Inflation is rising. Living costs in many parts of the UK are sharply up: heating, food, rent, transport. The cap means many people's income will stagnate in real terms or even decline. Dependence on state benefits or other assistance will increase. For some, this might mean skipping meals, delaying health care spending, turning down heating, foregoing social activities, all typical indicators of financial strain, especially among pensioners. For younger viewers or those who plan retirement, this is a warning. Unless pension reform or policy changes shift, those entering old age under older schemes should carefully assess what their retirement income will be, whether their pension entitlement is protected or likely to be capped, and plan accordingly. It may mean saving more privately, pursuing private pensions, or seeking advisors, because relying solely on assumptions about state pension increases may leave you short. The cap at £9,634 is not something that is faced by everyone, and for many on newer, full contribution, new state pension, the payments will be higher. But for those on basic or legacy schemes, that number looms large. It's big enough to change choices, where someone lives, whether to accept part-time work, or what to cut in daily life. In conclusion, pensioners in that £9,634 bracket are seeing more than a financial number. They are facing a limit to what the state guaranteed for many as a cornerstone of retirement. Thanks for watching UK Pension Update. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a critical update that could affect your finances. Stay informed, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next video.